What's good, Wizards fans? It's your host, the real Ed Oliver and Brandon Scott, and we are a couple of days away from the NBA trade deadline. We're going to talk about some Wizards news with the Wizards turning down 4 second-round picks for Tyus Jones, and also some interesting Kyle Kuzma news. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your best bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. All right, so the news that came out, this is from HP Basketball. And a lot of people came up with this report as well. HP Basketball on Twitter, Hardwood Paroxysm with Action Network. His name is Matt Moore, NBA writer for Action Network HQ. He also does the Locked On Nuggets podcast as well. And his article says about Tyus Jones, but the name with the most interesting player most likely to be traded is point guard Tyus Jones. Jones is on a $14 million expiring contract, and last summer sources said he was looking for starter money wherever he wound up, but most teams are specifically interested in his value as a reserve. The Wizards' offer threshold continues to stay at a first-rounder. The Minnesota Timberwolves, two sources said, offered 4 second-rounders for Tyus Jones, but Washington held the line. The Timberwolves have big point guard decisions coming up with Mike Conley becoming a free agent this summer at age 36. Tyus Jones will be a perfect fit for Minnesota as a backup, but is he ready to return to Minnesota? And will they want him to take the reins as their starter? Jones' free agency preferences will influence any trade in a big way, end quote. So what are your thoughts on the Wizards turning down 4 second-round picks for Tyus Jones?
Well, I guess they didn't want to own the rest of the second-round picks in the NBA because we got the rest of them. So I'm not very surprised, to be honest with you, that the Timberwolves didn't really strike on this trade proposal because, number one, you don't know if he wants to stay there long term. And it's really tough to trade a first-round pick for a guy who, is going to be a rental pretty much for the playoff run. So I get that. If you look at the Gobert trade, I mean, obviously their coffers are hurting right now as first-round picks. So that's another reason they may be hesitant to move a first-round pick for a rental. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not very surprised as far as the perspective of the Minnesota T-Wolves because, again, not many teams, unless the commodity has got that much value, they're not going to flip a first-round pick for a guy who may not even be there next year. So I get that. Looking at it from the Wizards' perspective, I get it. They're aiming high, the whole second round pick, and they're definitely aiming high for what they want to get in return. But I think eventually they're waiting to mark it out, but eventually they're going to take the deal that they need to take. Right now you see, with the deadline coming up in a few days, you see a lot of reports here and there, reports that he might be traded, he may not get traded, he may stay here. So there's going to be a lot of conflict and stuff, but I think he will be moved. He does have value. He showed that he can start. He can't be a spot starter. But we both said, is he a guy that is a long-term solution to most contending teams? No. Now, I can see him being here long-term because he does his job well. He's played well being a starter, and he could be a good floor general for a rebounding team or rebuilding team. So I wouldn't mind it, but that's the thing. Not many teams are looking at Tyus to be the guy. They want him to be the second unit point guard who, if need be, can come in and start. So I'm not very surprised. I think they're going to eventually lower down their standards when what they expect to get in return for most of these trades, because I think Kyle Kuzma is your best chance to get a first round pick, but it ain't gonna be 2. I mean, Tyus, you're probably looking at a young player. I mean, here's the thing, if you're looking at young guys who are rookies now or even in their second year, in a lot of deals, they're constituted as a first round pick. So we were talking about and I can't think of his first name, but G League player, last name Miller. You know who I'm talking about. That's a guy that I would love us to pick up. Maybe even flip Tyus and Johnny Davis, because we would talk a lot about Johnny Davis, him not being part of the future. Maybe trade a G Leaguer for a G Leaguer, but get a young prospect. I get them trying to get all the picks they can, but young prospects can be like picks. Especially when they're early on in their rookie scale contract. So I would definitely try to get a young player. You're not going to get you're not gonna get the house for Tyus Jones, and that's what it is, man. You know, you're just not gonna get a lot. Can we kind of overvalue? Yeah, we've already kind of touched base on that. So I think eventually they're gonna settle for what deal they can get, which most of these deals that I see us getting are gonna be for young players. And you may get a first round pick, you may get a couple seconds, but I don't see us getting a significant return for Tyus. So I'm not surprised but I think that they could still be a good trade partner, in my opinion. But for second rounders, I mean, here's the thing, real quick, we could still package these second rounders and eventually go get first round picks or trade back into the first round, or you still be savvy. So we'll see. Maybe they take that deal. Maybe that's the best deal they can get and they take it. But it's, in my opinion, it's not a bad deal for Tyus. But if they're going to wait around for a first, they may be waiting for a while.
Yeah, I think 4 second round picks is, and there's another report from Jake Fisher also saying that rival executives believe the Wizards will be willing to trade Tyus Jones for multiple second round picks.
Yeah.
Per Jake Fisher, Washington's original asking price for Jones was a first round pick. So I mean, they're doing what they're supposed to do as GMs. They're supposed to play hardball. You know, you're supposed to, things may change by the deadline. They may cave in because it's a contract year for him. And like you said, he's a rental for other teams. And, they have to make a move, because I don't see them bringing him back. I don't see them bringing him back on another contract. Even though I like a lot of the things that Tyus has done, I think he's a professional point guard. I think he's a good starter in this league. He's not the top of the line. He's not a top of the line starting point guard, but he's definitely a starter on a playoff team, I believe, or even a really, really, really good backup. I think he would be the best backup point guard in the league if he was a backup, like he was last year. But he's done some good things. He gets guys involved, assist to turnover ratio, all that stuff. We already talked about it so much. But 4 second round picks, I know you talked about Leonard Miller as well. I don't know if he was involved in the trade talks. That could be enticing him and another player to match salaries for Tyus Jones. I think he's an intriguing prospect for sure on the Timberwolves. But 4 second round picks, it sounds about right. And I think other teams are playing hardball as well. It's still in the negotiation period, but I think when it gets to February 7th or the day of, one team is going to cave in. I mean, the Sixers is another team that you don't want to sleep on. They're a team that's still out there. There's so many teams that are interested. Like the Lakers are still interested. We thought the Heat were, but they ended up trading for Terry Rozier, so he most likely is going to be out of it. And the Timberwolves have, familiarity with Tyus Jones because, he was there a couple years ago. I know it was probably 3 or 4 years ago. But, 4 second round picks, that might be what they end up getting. If teams are playing hardball, they don't get anything else. If they can't get that first round pick, that might be what they get. Now, that is better than some of the trades they made. Like, they traded Monte Morris. They only got 1 second round pick for him.
Yeah.
So you get 4 seconds. Once again, like you said, we're stockpiling the seconds. They're going to have the most seconds in the history of the game of basketball. But, it's progress. I think, like you said, Kyle Kuzma is the only guy that really may get you a first. That is definitely going to get you a first. But Tyus has played well. I think his value has gone up since he's gotten here. And 4 second round picks kind of sounds about right. I mean, you see what you got to see what the Sixers are offering. What are the Lakers offering? The Lakers don't have a lot of picks to really give up either. If they give up a first, it's going to be way down the line. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up just getting 4 second round picks and then 2 young guys, 2 young prospects. I think that kind of makes sense for Tyus Jones. So I wouldn't get my hopes up for a first round pick.
No. I mean, that's why I said they're gonna be waiting for a while because realistically, Kyle Kuzma is gonna be probably the only guy I see that can get us a first round pick, and it's gonna be 1, not 2. And like you said, I get it, swing for the fences. I get that, and I agree with that. As a GM, you definitely go high. That's how you negotiate, right? You always go high. So and then you bring down and you meet in the middle. So they're doing what they're supposed to do. So it's and I definitely believe in this front office. You're going to make the necessary moves at the deadline. But Tyus, you're not going to get a lot. I mean, you're not going to get you may get a young player in a couple. It is what it is. And like you said, I definitely believe he can definitely run a playoff team. But here's the thing though. If I'm giving him a first round pick, you got to have this guy for the future. And a lot of teams are hesitant to move first round picks, especially within the next 2 to 3 years for a guy who may not be on the team in 3 months. So, we'll see. But it's intriguing because we're getting there, man. Look, 2 days and some change, we'll be at the deadline, man. So a lot of unfolding pieces, man. But going back to Tyus, I think that's probably the best move you're going to get is 4 second round picks. And again, you can stockpile these picks and package them together, get another first round pick. That gives them leeway. And so I think that's something that we always haven't had. And I said this all year long. We have options, so it gives us options. So I think if you get that trade in the next couple of days, you get that proposal, man, you got to say yes. Because the 4 second round picks is better than, you know what I mean? Because you're not going to get it first. Yeah, it's better than nothing. So I say go ahead and take it.
Yeah, and they're playing hardball. That like we keep saying, that's what you're supposed to like. The 2 second round picks report, and I'm sorry, 2 first round picks, and they wanted a deal better than Pascal Siakam. They're starting to pull back on that. They're starting to lower their expectations and their requirements on that. So we're gonna get to Kuzma next and some interesting news that Woj reported about Kyle Kuzma. But before we do that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. My picks for Super Bowl Sunday, I would definitely get Travis Kelce. I would definitely bet on him to get a touchdown. I'm going to look at the odds on that really quickly. The NFL, they're about making money. They do want to show Taylor Swift on the screen for sure. And an easy way for her to be shown on the screen would obviously be by Travis Kelce getting a touchdown. So he is plus 100 to get a touchdown, anytime touchdown scorer. You might even want to sprinkle in him being the first touchdown scorer, because he was the first touchdown scorer against the Ravens as well. He's at plus 800 for first touchdown scorer. So that would make sense. It's really between him and McCaffrey. McCaffrey, you could do a parlay of McCaffrey minus 220 and Travis Kelce at plus 100 for anytime touchdown scores. That equals out to plus 188. So that's just a simple one right there that I might throw in. So, and then also the NBA trade deadline is coming up, guys. It's fast approaching. Locked On Fantasy Basketball is your place for live reaction. Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Subscribe to Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube today so you don't miss Josh Lloyd breaking out every NBA trade with analysis and insight you can only get from Locked On Fantasy Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so let's get to these interesting reports from Woj. So if Woj speaks, you respect it. You kind of just listen to what he has to say, even if it is somewhat outlandish, if it's something that you don't really want to believe. And this is kind of something that I'm not going to say I don't want to believe it, but it is, interesting because we just heard so much stuff. And we talked about this before we started recording, just really during the day, but that it could be smoke and mirrors. But I'll read the article here from Woj. And Woj said this on his podcast as well. So Woj said, Kyle Kuzma in Washington, they are not trying to trade him. He's happy. Listen, they love Kyle Kuzma. He really likes that organization. Signed that extension this summer. He loves being in D.C. He's not angling to get out of there. So that's what Woj said. So we'll talk about that first. What are your thoughts on that from Adrian Wojnarowski?
Ain't that cute? I'll say this, man. I'm gonna try to look at it from both perspectives. I'm a big Kyle Kuzma fan, especially I wasn't a big fan of him in LA, but once he came to DC, really changed who he was as a player, became a complete player, became a leader. Big fan of him. I wouldn't mind him being here long term if we weren't a rebuilding team. I mean, that's the thing, man. If you retain Kyle Kuzma, now you can use the whole leadership thing, man. But for the amount of money that it's a team-friendly deal, but still. If you're serious about doing a full rebuild, you trade him. The MO with the front office was a full rebuild, breaking it all down and building it back up. Now, if you retain him, then you're kind of still building in the middle. And and I get it. Within the next 2, maybe 3 years, you may not be concerned with how much money is on the salary cap because we're rebuilding. But still, like I said, I'm a Kyle Kuzma fan, man. I like him here. He's been a good leader. I've enjoyed watching him in his uniform, but I fully expected a full rebuild. And to me, every veteran needs to go. And if there's a couple of young guys that are getting calls, then you might have to move them too. It's a full rebuild. Because if we're still trying to build from the middle, then we should have kept Bradley Beal and KP in the Wizards uniform, in my opinion. I want to build from the middle. I fully expect that every veteran on this team should be moved to the deadline. And in the second half of the season should be fully devoted to evaluating these young guys, especially Denny, especially Bilal, especially Kispert, and see what they can do as starters and go from there. But that's kind of where I'm at, man. Because like I said, I enjoyed him here. I'm a big fan. I mean, same thing with Tyus Jones. I mean, if we were not in year one of a rebuild, love him to be here. Both of those guys would love them to be here. Same thing with Gav. I mean, list goes on. Gav, I'm a big fan. He's my favorite wizard on the team currently. But here's the thing: you get a deal that is too good to pass up, make that move because you're rebuilding. So that's where I'm at. I think that the best course of action is to move him. I don't think the value is going to get any higher than this right now. Now you can hold on to him, use him as a leadership guy. Because after this year, he had 3 years, so you can get away with that. So I'm not going to be upset if he stays, obviously, because I enjoy him being here. But if they're serious about rebuilding this team in a full capacity, then they need to go ahead and move him, in my opinion. You need to move all the vets and go from there. I mean, heck, Haslam. I mean, when's the last time before Haslam retired? When's the last time he actually played some basketball? And I mean, he was literally just a coach, for a minute. Probably the last 5 years of his career. So you can go get a leadership guy that doesn't have to play the significant minutes. So if leadership is what you're looking for a rebuilding team, and he's a great leader, but in my humble opinion, if you're serious about a full rebuild, move him and go from there.
Yeah, I think Kyle Kuzma, I think he may really want to be here. I know when the tweet came out earlier from a Wizards account and it said his trade value is going up, he was like, "Oh, you really want to trade me?" So I think he does like it here.
Yeah,
but I think he knows if he wants to win or go back to the playoffs, he has to do it somewhere else because it's not going to happen. Probably it's not going to happen here next year or maybe even the year after.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think like you said as well, his value is not really going to go up. I think right now it kind of is what it is. It was actually going down. Like the last couple of weeks of West being here, his body language was not good. It looked like he didn't want to be here. The shot selection was bad. So I was like, man, we might have to sit him down because, his trade value is going down because he's not playing well. He's, shooting like 10 or really like 5 for 20 and putting the numbers like that. So yeah, I think honestly, I love Kuz. I really appreciate his services here. And, he's been a good leader and, he's had some really, really good games. For the Wizards, been a nice guy and all that, good to the media and all that good stuff like that. But the best thing for them to rebuild and improve the team and stockpile assets, they have to take advantage of this because with Bradley Beal, you only got seconds.
Yeah.
With, of course, Monte, you weren't going to get much, but Porzingis, you ended up getting Tyus back in a second. Like they just have not been able to get a first. And the Jordan Poole trade is a 2030 first is protected. And then now you got Jordan Poole back who you really won't get much for at all at this point. Like he just has zero value. So you have to capitalize. And the whole reason why they even brought Kuzma back was to get a first round pick. A lot of people were up in arms about even bringing him back, and I was like, you got to play chess, not checkers.
Yeah.
You got to bring somebody back for salary reasons for one thing. And then another thing, you have to bring him back for asset management so you can flip him and get a first round pick. So this is their opportunity to get a first. I don't see them getting 2 seconds, but holding on to him, I don't really see the point in that either because, like you said, his value is not going to go up any more than what it is. But if he really wants to stay, I get it. That's nice and all. I think he likes it here. Like I said, they've catered to him, with the hat, the bobbleheads, the fashion show in the beginning of the year that a lot of people were up in arms about. That was clearly because of Kuzma with all the fashion stuff. So they've done a lot of stuff for Kuz, and I think they've done a lot of things to kind of like, make him feel good that he's here, make him feel comfortable and whatnot, and different stuff like that. So, of course, he's loving DC. He said he likes DC because it's like it's not too far from New York. And, if he wants to do the fashion thing, he can travel very quickly. So he really likes it here. I do believe that. I do believe that he really likes the fans and stuff like that. But, it's a business. So, I do think they move him. The Mavericks are clearly interested. The Kings are clearly interested. There's a lot of teams. that are looking for Kyle. There was a report that came out today that they're looking for a 4-man that can shoot the ball and defend, and he kind of defend. He kind of fits that bill. I think he would really fit well next to Luka and Kyrie and that Mavericks team. I think he would be pretty good on that team. So, but Woj he's trustworthy, man. He's not making this up. You know, this is real stuff that's coming out from him. So it's interesting, and this could be a smoke screen though. And also the article says that they're not trying to trade Malcolm Brogdon in Portland, Kyle Kuzma in Washington. They're not trying to trade him. He's happy. They love Kyle Kuzma. He really likes the organization. So, yeah, I mean, Woj is doubling down on this. So I'm really intrigued to see what happens. But for the better of this organization, yes, they need to. If somebody's giving up a first, or I'm not going to say 2 firsts, but if they're giving up a first and a couple of young prospects, you have to jump on the deal.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I get it. He likes it here, man. And I like to hear that. I like people to want to be here because a lot of people don't want to come here in free agency.
Yeah,
so
that's very true.
He took that, he definitely took a chance to come here. So I get that. So here's my thing. Like I said, I definitely believe they need to move him, but I'm also a fan. So I'm going to say this. If he stays, he's got to change his game because no matter what, in the second half of the season, it's about evaluating young guys. And I fully expect to see Denny and Blau in the starting lineup in the second half of the year. So for them to be properly developed, he's got to bring those shot attempts down. He's got to find ways to get other people more involved in the offense, man. We cannot see 20, 25 attempts because you're taking attempts away from young guys. And that's where my focus is. My focus in the second half of the season is developing young talent. That's it. I care less about vets and all that. I'm worried about because there's a rebuild, man. You got to start evaluating these young guys, see what you got. So if he stays, he's got to change his game more to a guy who wants to get other people involved. We cannot see him shooting 20, 25 times a game. We can't see that, man, because that's is really going to slow down the development of these young guys. So, like I said, I'm a fan of him. He likes it here. He gets a lot of love from the organization, a lot of love from the fan base. I've enjoyed watching him grow as a man, as a player in DC, and I would not be upset. But my biggest focus, man, as a fan, as an analyst, as somebody supports his franchise, we've got to get this rebuild rolling because if we're still building from the middle, we should have kept the real deal in KP here. So we need to make some moves. We need to start evaluating and start moving this rebuild along, man, because it's starting to be a little stagnant. So, yeah, if he stays, I mean, like you said, Woj, man, those are words from a guy who gets a lot of respect in the industry, man. So, when he says something, you definitely listen, and there's some credibility to it. Absolutely. But, if they're serious about not moving him or if this is a smokescreen, we'll see, man. It's going to be a crazy next couple of days, man, because you're going to see a lot of smoke and mirrors and a lot of this because right now GMs are playing chess. So there's going to be a lot of reports that will be conflicting. So we'll know better, man. I mean, if he's still in Wizards uniform on the 9th, then we'll know. And if not, then hopefully he finds a place where he can challenge for a championship. And definitely thank you for your service in DC. So that's kind of what I stand on.
Yeah, I still got the Kyle Kuzma hat from the game last year. This is it right here. So I'll always remember him for that.
Yeah, man. I got a district Kyle Kuzma 33 in the closet, man. So I mean, I got some love for the man, but it's just we got to get this rebuild rolling, man, or we should never push that reset button. We've got to get serious about a rebuild. So we're gonna go ahead. Before we move on, man, tonight's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. So sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest. Big or small, certain things can really start to get at you, right? It's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. So today, I want to say how I really feel about something. You might even be thinking about the same thing this week. There's a lot going on in this world, right? Personally, finances, and, a lot of things bother people, especially if you're a parent. A lot of things going on in the world right now. So you might need somebody to talk to, and BetterHelp is here for you. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports team. Oh, yeah, right. And it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. If you think of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible, and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. So, all right. So, moving on.
Yes, sir. All right. I guess we can read one comment, or let me see if there's any other reports for the trade deadline. right here. There's something about DeLon, right? But I guess we'll talk about that tomorrow. But yeah, the other teams that are interested in Tyus Jones, this was earlier that came out today. Tyus Jones is drawing trade interest from the Magic, Spurs, Nets, Lakers, and Timberwolves. So there's a lot of teams. So it really could come down to a bidding war. I think if another team really, really is hard pressed for Tyus on the trade deadline, those last couple of hours, because the deadline usually is at 2 p.m. So if it really is a bidding war, maybe you could get a first. Now the Magic, the Spurs, I don't really see them being hard pressed trading, like bidding like a first, because they're in rebuild mode themselves. The Magic are actually trying to make the playoffs. Let me see where they're ranked right now. What their record is, but I know they have a good record. Markelle Fultz, is he even back yet? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think he just came back.
Okay, so he's back. So they have a couple of point guards, Jalen Suggs, Markelle Fultz. So they have a couple guards. They did not put the Sixers in that report. And I know the Sixers have clearly been interested all year. Melton just came back. Patrick Beverly is healthy too. But they definitely want an upgrade at the backup point guard position. The Lakers they're always trying to trade for somebody. LeBron is always trying to make a trade, and then the Timberwolves already offered 4 second-round picks. So, that's kind of like the standard there. So maybe another team may offer more than 4 second-round picks. We've seen teams trade 5 second-round picks for guys as well. So that still could be something that happens. So we'll see what happens with Tyus.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at Orlando right now, 27 and 23. They're 7th in the East, so they could definitely use a boost. Because if you look at the teams after them, I mean, the Heat definitely a threat, but the Bulls and the Hawks, they're 9th and 10th in the play-in, and I don't see them really making any noise, man. I mean, even if they make the play-in, they're probably not gonna make the 8th or the 7th spot. So yeah, they can definitely need a boost, man, because they're only a game and they are a half a game away from the Pacers. So they can use a boost. So look at Orlando, man. I mean, I'll take one of their guards. I mean, I'll take Cole Anthony or Markelle Fultz easy. But we have options, man. It's going to be a heck of a deadline. I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. Just, like I said, a lot of conflicting reports. I mean, Kuzma, I can't see that as a 50-50 of being traded. I can see him staying too. But Tyus, I think, is gone. Shamet has to be gone just for the sake of, freeing up minutes for some of these young guys, especially Johnny Davis, man, who's been a hot topic. So yeah, we have options, but we definitely have to move on from these vets, man. We got to start this rebuild because we can't waste any more time, because time, like I said, with the potential moves going on in the future with this organization, it behooves them to start trying to develop a team right now, because you can't move to Northern Virginia, man, and have a team that's a lottery team, man. They ain't paying the bills, man. So you best believe with a move like that, which I don't think is guaranteed, which that's a whole nother video, but whether they stay in DC or move to Virginia, it behooves them rather sooner than later to try to put a winning product on the floor. So, and that comes along with starting a rebuild. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But looking at the Lakers, man, I feel like every year, everybody's like getting together trying to find out how they can try to win LeBron another championship.
Right,
like they do it every year. Like, oh, we gotta go make moves. It's like, bro, like if you're that good, you don't have to make moves. Like you just need to get better. Like, I mean, I ain't trying to go way back, man, but under Jordan and Kobe, I didn't see everybody trying to get together, trying to find them reinforcements every year. So anyway, so yeah, that's where I'm at, man. I think we have a lot of flexibility to kind of sit back and get the best deal we can get, and I think that's what we're going to do. So I have all the confidence in the world in this front office.
Right. So yeah, tomorrow we're gonna tap into some of the comments we didn't get to read from last night, and then there probably will be some more trade news. We'll try to come up with a couple of scenarios. We will be on Bleacher Report tomorrow at 1:00 Eastern time, so check us out there on the Bleacher Report Wizards. We will be live, so you guys definitely comment some trade scenarios and some trades that you guys want to see the Wizards make. We want to thank you guys for listening, and make sure you guys hit that notification bell. Hell to the Wizards. Peace.